even going to announce these. Let's see what happens.
Well, let me get over onto YouTube and I'll share it.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'll pick up the table so I can run a fancy, a longer test.
Yeah.
It's always a good thing.
All right. I just shared it to Facebook.
Yeah, sweet. Yep.
It's not putting a preview though. I don't know why.
Hmm.
It's just got the link. The link works, but
The link to YouTube? Yeah.
yeah. Jim Bashirs is out there. Philip
Hey,
Clark.
Jim, how's it going? I'm just I'm picking up because I'm about to run this test for this box and this test for the first time. See how it runs, and then I'm going to test the motors and box it up for one of my soon-to-be extremely happy clients. And I'm getting ready to. Hey, Philip, how's it going? Yeah, I'm getting ready to head over to the property tomorrow night. So I am looking forward to going full speed ahead with the builds now that I've got peace and quiet and I was sharing this with Dave, guys. I'm gonna the Harbor Freight set of bins is on sale. Those 47 bins. And I love those things, and that's exactly what I need for all these parts. Little screws, 3, 4, 5 different types of screws that I use. The different size and shapes of the heat shrink. I mean, the list is endless. Well, maybe not endless. My flux. So things are going well, Philip. Things are going well. Progressing little by little, but progressing on all the boxes. I've got one going out today. Number 7's going out today, and then or tomorrow rather. And then I should have at least 3 or 4 more going out on Monday. So hopefully 5. Depends how much I can get done up there, and I think I'll get a lot done. Today took a little longer than usual. I was working on the box here, and hey, Steve, I was working on the box, and I was just like, it's one calamity after another. And for any of you that are building your own controls, my tip is check, double check, and triple check the wiring, and I did. And even with that, I mean, again, with over 200 connections, you're bound to get one either mixed up or wrong, or, well, it turns out that one of the connections on the inputs you're going to love this. If anybody's out there, well, Jim will appreciate this. It was an intermittent, it was a bad solder, which rarely happens, but it happens. And it was an intermittent short between a couple pins. So I'd go to test it, and the input would be 3 and 4, 3 and 4, and I go, oh man. So then I go, well, let me try another box. I tried another box, and the box was perfect. 3 and 3. input 3 and input 4, I was using my little test box. First thing I wanted to check is it my test box? Because maybe I had a bad connection here, but I put this together pretty solidly. And then, so I put it back. And then, lo and behold, I get the error again. I disassembled all the little connections for the board. The 3, 6, 9, 12, 4, 6, 8, 10, 22 little connections here. I took them off and put another board in its place. Same issue. I figure, well, let me just see if it, oh my goodness. In the end, I finally went and put my finger, and the first thing I tried was the continuity tester. That's the worst part, because the continuity tester, I checked, everything was fine. I had the box off and I pressed the buttons, everything was fine. Yet when I turned the program on Mach 3, it wasn't fine. It was the weirdest thing, but it was just a slight little movement every time. And if I would have caught it in the middle of it and seen a flicker, I would have known it, instantly suspected that, but I didn't. So yeah, it was a pain, but hour and a half of troubleshooting and swapping boards later, I put my finger on the inside on the connector, low voltage, and then I see it flickering, and I go, there it is. So I took the connector out, resoldered it, and everything was fine. But oh my goodness, those are the issues that are. It's problematic while it's there, but they're fun when you solve. I mean, it's satisfying when you solve them. I'm taking everything off here so I can run the test program I have, because it takes up a good portion of the thing here. So I want to do that. Any comments out there, Dave? Oh, and welcome to Dave Gatton, which I didn't welcome publicly because I've been chatting with him. I took it for granted.
Right, huh? Paul Stewart says, "Hey there, guys. Dean's out there."
Yeah.
We already mentioned it.
And that wasn't the first problem with this particular box. I put in a power supply, which looks identical, if you'll notice. This is a 36-volt power supply. This is a 24-volt power supply. I put in the power supply, and I'm going, why in the world is this thing flickering? And this is not, it was, oh, boy. And then the meter is your friend. I pulled the meter out. I saw it was, and then so I took the power supply out after screwing it all in and saw that it was a 24-volt supply. They sent me the wrong one. I guess I ordered so many from them, they figure, he won't notice one. Yes, I do. Yep, the box. I'm very happy with the I'll call them cooling fins or whatever, the cooling design of the box. And for those of you that haven't seen it yet, let me turn it off just in case I trigger something. This is the back of the box. It's got the nameplate with the person on it, and my little logo on the fan. The front of the box. This is my test wire, but basically you'll receive the 4 cables, X, Y, Z, and A, and whatever else comes with it. All right, I've got some motors here. I'm not touching those. Because they should be under my test pattern. like Dave always says, you always got to know where your machine is going. That's a very, very important tip. You know, maybe for you beginners, it might be a little tough to anticipate it because, you know, you program a wrong move, but you should always know where your machine is headed, and never be confident that you always know where your machine is headed, even if you do know, because whether it's a slight glitch, a slight error in programming, or something you didn't count on, and that machine goes the wrong way, and you're just like, you know, thinking, it's working on that end of the board, it's never going to come near me, and break my hand, and then it does. That's not good. Just saying. Maybe that's not worst case scenario, but that's pretty bad. All right, so let me get this stuff out of the way here, and I shall endeavor to run a little test program here. All right. First of all, machine on. Let's see, is that? Oh yeah, I got a pretty good. You got a pretty good view of most of the table. So I'm going to go over here, click the reset, load. Well, first and foremost, and very importantly, set your X0, Y0 by jogging it to wherever it may be.
Michael Bell, did you see his comment, Javi?
On what?
He said it would be more exciting if you just left the stuff on the bed and hit go.
Yeah, and watch it go all around. Yeah, I'm sure it would.
It's a quick way to clean your table off.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Speaking of making sure my table's clean, I still got stuff all over here, including another box. And it's not going to go anywhere with this thing on top of it. Okay. So, now let's see. Alrighty. All right, and up and down. Let me set my 0, 0, 0. And let's do the old... well, let's try to run it. Open, load G code. I think this is the one. Yep, this is the one. Here goes. Now what it's doing is... let me show you something here. It's why isn't it do? Okay. That's awful loud. What it's doing is it's cutting. Imagine, if you will, a square split up. You know, put a cross in the middle, so it's split up into 4 triangles. So it's doing this. It did this triangle. Now it's doing this triangle. Pretty soon it'll do this triangle, and then it'll do the top. It'll do 2 passes for each one. And that's just to show. And by the way, it's operating at 250 inches per minute. Although it may not look that fast, but you certainly wouldn't cut anywhere near this fast. But that's what it's That's what it's running at with the JaviBox. And I don't know if you want to hear the noise or not, so I muted myself. But
I don't think it's that loud. Since you're
okay, yeah. I mean,
always,
if you're wearing headphones, it might be, but yeah.
oh yeah, well I'm not wearing headphones,
So
so
now, yeah. So then there it is, and here comes the end, and it'll go. I've got it set to go back to home, but you could change that if you like. So that's it. It ran perfectly. It ran fine. It ran wonderfully, and and some of the cool little features of the JaviBox. Now that we're going to test it, um, I'll go to where are my? Okay, go to diagnostics, and I'm hitting the first button here, which closes the first the input number one. Input number two, which is your limit switches. Input one is also e-stop. That's how I have them programmed, but you could change it. Input number three is the probe, and input number four is just input number four. They work perfectly fine individually. Now, if I go and type in M3, that'll turn on output number one, and hopefully, well, helps if I reset this thing. Hopefully this will turn on. I haven't tried this after I put the box together, but yep, sure enough, what's going on? Ah, there it is. There's M4. M5 should turn it off. M7 does that one. M8 and M9 turns those two off. I forgot. I got one setting on here that I gotta make sure is on, because I noticed the there it is. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I turned the spindle on. So what'll happen now? I hit M3, and it helps if I reset again. It's in one of those moves. Actually, with that one, I may have to actually. Yeah, I have to restart the. That's M4. Let me restart the. It's not the box; it's the programming, and this is the part that's a pain in the butt for a lot of you, and I completely understand it. So, when you purchase it from me, I try to walk you through as much as I can. And let me make sure that these settings here, there it is. Okay. Spindle's running perfectly fine. Let me turn off M9. There's M8. It's all in the settings, my friends. It's all in the settings. So, anyways, this is how I spend most of the day. Well, not so much and you'll notice there's a little, I don't know if you guys can even see it, but there's a little readout here that shows me 10.7 volts. That's the spindle controller operates on 0 to 10 volts. And if I, for instance, take the spindle down to, right now I'll set it at, say, I'll bring it down to, all right, I'll bring it down to 8,000 and it's at 10.4. Okay, so 6,400, it's lowering to 8.67. At 4,800, it's down to 5.49. And then the lower you go, the lower the voltage goes until, well, there's no voltage to even run the circuit. It turns off. But so your spindle speed, this controls, rather this bottom one here would control your spindle speed if you so hooked it up. Always an option. Man, I'm looking forward to that. Is the bread smelling yet, Dave?
Well, I'm clear on the other end of the house, but yeah, I can get just a little whiff of it.
Oh man, it's I
It
could
should
just
be
imagine.
ready just a little bit, and you won't see me no more then.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Oh, Dave's muted. I don't know why. But yeah. So everything ultimately is all about the calibration, the inputs, the outputs. It's all about, let me try that.
Troy says, so that little box with all the lights is just the test box.
Yeah. That's just, there we go. Now I got it correct. Okay, so yeah, so basically the spindle. Okay, so there's how it should run. It shouldn't turn on two lights because it was turning it on because it was operating a second thing because I had the configuration wrong. But you'll get the right configuration emailed from me. So M3 will turn that on. M4 turns this, which is normally reverse spindle. But I keep saying M3 and M4, which is M3 is output number 1. M4 is the M command for output number 2. It's the G code, but you don't have to worry about that because it's all, in the. Most of these things are inside the Mach 3. M5 shuts them both off. Output 1 and output 2 do not turn on at the same time on purpose because they are normally connected to spindle forward and spindle reverse. There may be a way in the programming, but I'm not even going to fiddle with it because you don't need to. And if I mean, there probably is a way, but I'm building the box. And there's M7, which is output number 3. M8 is output number 4. Here, we'll turn one on for you. And well, and then basically M5 shuts this one off, M9 shuts these two off, and that's that. So if you turn the spindle on, you can actually, I showed you that earlier. You could lower the speed, and basically the voltage goes down. I don't know if you can even read it. It says 8.67 now, and now it's going back up to as I crank up the speed. But again, that's not here nor there. Well, that's that. Everything runs perfectly fine. I always grab the wrong keyboard. Yeah, this is it. This is my other keyboard. So let me just put this back out of the way. Try not to rack the... Oh, well, actually, it's a little uneven, so let me go ahead and rack it. Oh. It's not racked. It's just, never mind. You'll learn all about that if you build your own CNC. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that, and the rest of the evening's just... Oh, actually, I got to test the motors. So let's go ahead and do that. The motors are pre-wired. They come with color coding. So you'll see the plug, blue, always shut off power before changing any plugs, before hooking anything up. Blue is your A. Yellow is your Y. Y for yellow. That one's easy to remember. Red. Let's see here. I'll put these in order in a second. Red is your X. Red X. I don't know why I call it Red X, but you know. And then obviously Z is... Now I just wired these motors. They could very well be wired incorrectly, so that's what I'm checking for now, because it happens. I've wired a number of motors. All right, so we'll put Z over here. We shall put X over here. This is A, and Y is over here. Now let me get a little piece of tape. One piece of tape, two pieces of tapes, three pieces of tapes or pieces of tape. And that one's got... That's fine. I'll just leave that on there. All right. Turn it on. Reset. And here's hoping. Here's the X. X first. No problem. Y. No problem. Z. No problem. You'll notice I have Z a little bit slower. I have this maxed out at 150. I have these maxed out at 250. You could push them a little more, but I wouldn't recommend it. You could, and I'd even slow the Z down a bit, because there's no point in driving your router into the spoil board at that speed. All right, now what was I going to do?
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to drive it into the table slower.
Yeah. like I did the other day. Full blast. That was just... yeah, anybody that hasn't heard, the other day I was cutting one of these boxes, and Dave, yeah, you guys were probably all here. Dave showed it on the night before last. It was not pretty at all. Spoil board was completely messed up. All right, so the last thing I got to check is making sure that the motors are running in the right direction, because I'm shipping them all out identical. They're going to be... Usually a standard Gatton build is the X motor on the right, the Y and the A, doesn't matter where you put the Y and the A, whether you swap them or not, but they're going to be in the back, and then the Z on the top. Obviously, you're not going to put the Z on the bottom. The X, well, you could conceivably put it on either side, but if it's on the right, this is going to turn the correct way from the factory, if you will. And same thing with the motors in the back. You can put the motors in the front, although I wouldn't be able to walk through here if I did. And then again, it's a simple matter, and I will be sending instructions on how to reverse motors if your motors are, going the wrong way. I have my little notes written on a motor box. I need for the X to spin this way. It does. I need for the Y to spin this way. They do. And I need Z to spin the opposite way. And it does. Success. This one's ready to go, and it's time to pack it. So I know most of you enjoy a good unboxing. So I'll give you my version of a boxing. So for those of you that are not in California, it's Boxing Day for you too now. Power off, this off, these off. Alrighty. Oh, you'll love it when I put the box away. It's the exact size of a large one of these. All right. In the meantime, there we go. Last but not least, this one goes like so. Cables. 1. 2. 3. 4. Z is a long one. And 4. Let's see what else we have. And I do have a list, so I'm just going from memory now, and then anything I'm missing in the list, I will obviously pack. USB cable. Done. Power plug. Done. The probe would be in the bottom of one of the boxes that I have here. Let's see. I'll be right back. Let me find my. Let's see. Did I design it to fit the light? Yes. I actually designed it exactly to fit the large box, and you'll see that. In fact, I'll let me go under there and look for the probe, and I'll show you the fit. Give me a second. I'm still looking. I started packing for my journey, and oh, I know where it is. It's got to be in the last one that last place I looked. Well, clearly, it's not in the first place I looked. And there she goes. Okay. E-stop. Pre-wired for output number 3. Let me get. Okay, I need now. And this is the reason I'm getting one of those Harbor Freight bins. I'll have everything nice and organized exactly where it's supposed to go. Because the next couple things, for instance, where are they? I'm looking for my brackets because, by the way, not many people know until you get them, but I have, and I'm glad I checked. I have on the side of the box. On the side of the box, there are these inserts for 6 millimeter screws, and you get the 6 millimeter screws, 4 of them, and little angle brackets. So you could use your own drywall screws or any way you want to fasten the angle brackets. It's up to you. But at least I provide you with that so you can stick it under something. There we go. This one. And
Philip Carter has a question.
yeah, go for it, Philip.
He says, does the spindle have to be grounded for the probe to work? The fourth terminal wasn't hooked up inside the spindle. And that's the case on a lot of those Chinese hung ring or whatever they are spindles.
Have to be grounded. Okay. I send the probe has 2 wires. It has one side's the touch plate, the other side is this alligator clip. Now, you can either choose to, as long as you got good conductivity all the way through to the bit, you can take this alligator clip off and put this wire to chassis ground on the unit. I mean, on the spindle itself or something, you know, put even if it looks ugly, stick a hose clamp on the spindle and attach the wire to it. And that's enough, as long as you've got conductivity all the way to the bit. If not, then whenever you want to do a touch plate, then attach this to the bit, and the bit will go down. As soon as these two touch, this connector, which is a 2-pin connector that goes to, you'll see it in a second. I have an adapter cable, which looks exactly like, come on, I got 20 of them in here. That's all I was making. Yeah, here we go. These are not completed, but they'll soon be completed. These are the adapter cables that go into here. One is the input, one is the output. They're both wired identically, so you don't have to worry about it. There's input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4, and ground. And these will have the the female version of this plug. So I hope that answered your question. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, Philip, just so you know, I have the My Sweetie spindle, and I'm using the aluminum mount thing that came with it. And I connect my alligator clip to the bolt that's on that mount that you use to spread it open to get the spindle in. That's what I connect mine to when I'm using mine. Mine's just a piece of aluminum angle is what I use for my touch plate.
Ah, I do have a setup. I have it all set up here. I have the 4 screws, I have the 4 angles, and I have the touch probe. Boom. There you go. Paste to... I'll save that for the next one. I'll be putting together a few of those. I don't need to yank out brackets. All right. So that's that one. Now I will need... The only thing remaining for this particular person's order is the limit switches, and the limit switches come standard. You plug one end again into the box, 12-foot cable. There's a switch and a female on the other side, and then you plug the other male onto that, 12 feet. There's a switch and a female on that. So you got basically you get from your box, you go 12 feet to the Y, then 12 foot to the X, and then 12 foot to the Z motor. If your machine is bigger or you need more for drag chain, I will be selling extension cables eventually on my site. But I'm standardizing everything as far as all these cables because, well, just because. And these are the four, they're JST connectors. These are the four output cables on the end of the, and boop, there you go. You got the four output connectors, and you'll get two of these cables. And it's actually a 12 foot, a 12 foot, and a 6 foot to begin with because you don't need more than 6 feet from the. There's 12, there's 12. There's 6. I am going to have a fun time soldering connections over there. I'm actually am going to have a fun time soldering connections over there. This is not it. This is a different spindle cable. This is a yeah. This is it's going to be. It's not yet, but it's going to be a spindle cable connection from the spindle to your My Sweetie box or whatever for anyone who orders the optional spindle cable. I have a mess here because I've been packing all day to go set up shop over there, and it's always a chore. I got businesses over there to attend every month, and well, life does go on. This as much as I love doing this for the community, this is not my primary, secondary, or tertiary business. It's not even a business at all. It's a service, but I can't interrupt my livelihood for it. But at the same time, I took on the responsibility, so I am definitely following through with it. And I hope everybody enjoys their boxes, and I hope they get out there and start carving some stuff. And good evening, Wilson. And so I'm really happy about. Like I said, I'm gonna buy. Short people got to have long sticks. Uh, so I found on the. Oh no, it's in my wallet. I ripped it out of here, but well, the old Harbor Freight catalog came in, and I am looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to next time you see me. Next time you see me, which maybe if I have time to set up on Friday, I'll do another one of these lives on Friday. But next time you see me, I should have one of these racks set up behind me in in the uh, in the container over there. So I'll have everything nice and neat. I'll have all the space in the world, and more importantly, all the organization, so I can get these boxes out at a much faster rate. And that's about it. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and I guess I'll bid you all a fond adieu, and see you in a couple days. If I go on, if not, I'll see you in the chat room on Dave's show. So good night, all. If he has to show this, because it's never a certainty. Just saying. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and good night.